Hi everyone, it's Jamie and welcome back to my channel. Say hi to Brahm as always. So just a quick little update. I am currently on day 6 of my quarantine. I was exposed to COVID-19. I actually tried to go get tested today, which to be fair, the CDC does say you should probably wait 10 days rather than like 6 or 7 before getting tested. But since it was someone I lived with and they're being currently hospitalized, I was like, yeah, if I have it, I was definitely exposed more than 7 days ago. But I went to the urgent care and they told me no, and to just assume that I am, they just told me to assume that I have it. This is also my third time recording this video. Something's going on where, for some reason, all day yesterday, my brain was like not syncing up with my mouth. Hopefully today this goes a lot easier. And this would be a very long and very, very long and unnecessarily long and info-packed review on Snowy Escape. So if that's something you're into, let's jump into that. Before we really get into this though, I do want to put a little caveat that I put in front of all of my Sims 4 expansion pack reviews, and that's I don't think any of the Sims 4 expansion packs are actually that bad. I wouldn't say any of them are genuinely terrible. I definitely do think there are some that are stronger than others, and there are some pretty weak ones. However, I generally think they're all pretty good. And there are a few that I, am willing to admit that if I didn't have this channel or didn't want to have as much Sims content as possible, I probably wouldn't own them. Another thing I want to get out of the way is I'm not going to tell you whether or not you should buy this, but hopefully as I go through this video and we discuss more and more about this pack, it'll start to become clear to you whether or not this is a pack that you feel as though you need to own. So Snowy Escape is the 10th expansion pack for The Sims 4. And this pack actually brings some pretty new and exciting things to the game. We get winter sports and Japanese-inspired culture. While I do believe some things like sledding, for example, could have come with the Seasons pack, I'm genuinely fine with things like skiing and snowboarding coming in this pack, especially where we get a world that is set in specifically a kind of more wintry, year-round snowy climate. I'm actually really glad that we're getting quite a bit more variety in climates in The Sims 4. A lot of the worlds, not all of them, but a lot of them tend to have 4 distinct seasons. And while that's nice, that's not the truth for all of the worlds. That's one thing I really think was a strong selling point, at least for me, for island living, especially if you have the Seasons pack, is that it's going to be consistently fairly warm there and that they don't get snow. And there are some other worlds, it doesn't generally snow in Oasis Springs. I don't think I've ever seen it. And there's actually maybe one or two times I've seen it snow in Oasis Springs, and even then it doesn't generally stick. You don't get a covery blanket of snow. Same with Strangerville. And then I do see snow every once in a while in Willow Creek, and that one's a little weird to me because isn't that supposed to be Florida and Louisiana kind of inspired, and I don't think they generally get snow. I know they do every few years, but they don't generally get snow. But even those worlds, I would say, still have distinct 4 seasons, even if it doesn't snow. So it's really nice to get a world like this where it once again probably, still have distinct 4 seasons, but it won't be the same as if you're playing in, Windenburg, for example. I really like having a world where there is going to be snow year round. I think that's super exciting, and I don't think it inherently negates seasons. I'm also fine with this pack coming with specific winter activities that Seasons didn't, because what would this pack come with then if we were going to get a specifically winter sport themed world, if you will? So I'm fine with skiing and snowboarding coming with this pack. Sledding's one I definitely think probably should have come with Seasons though. Let's get a little bit more into the meat of this pack though. This new expansion pack comes with the world of Mount Komarabi, which is inspired by the Japanese mountain towns that we see, especially on the islands of Honshu, which is like mainland Japan, and then Hokkaido. I'm gonna say this up front. I haven't studied Japanese. I haven't studied any languages even like vaguely similar to Japanese. So I'm gonna do my best to pronounce these words. I've, gone out and done the research, but some of them I was, someone online would say it. I'm like, oh yeah, I can say that. And then I would try to say it and go, wow, that came out wrong. So I do apologize if I pronounce any of these horrendously wrong. It's not me trying to, I'm trying my best. But like I said, so the main island of Japan, which kind of part of it is known as Honshu, and then the northern island above it, Hokkaido, those are kind of where we get most of our inspiration for this pack. Mount Komarabi itself, like the mountain, not just the town, but the mountain seems to come from, to be inspired mostly by Mount Fuji, it looks like. And actually on Mount Fuji, I found out during my research, is you can actually go and stay on ski resorts there. So it pretty much checks out. The world is split up into 3 distinct neighborhoods, and that is Wakaba, which is a small and up-and-coming neighborhood. Senbach, let's try this one again. Senbachi. I apologize, that was butchered. That is a more older and more historic part of town. It is near the bamboo forest. And then there is Yukimatsu, which is this like kind of countryside that is covered in snow, and it's up by kind of like near the part of the mountain where you actually go skiing. All of these neighborhoods also come with at least one rental lot, except for Yukimatsu comes with 3. We'll get a little bit more into that in a second, though. The world in total comes with 14 lots, including 3 hidden ones. The base game update that came with the pack before brought some really fun things, including the ability to make a rental lot in any world. Prior to this, the only rental lots existed in the game packs that we got that were the vacation worlds, such as Selva Dorada with Jungle Adventure and Granite Falls with Outdoor Retreat. So if you wanted to go on vacation prior to this, you needed to own one of those packs. However, though, the Sims team has finally decided that you can vacation in any world. I think this is a great addition to the game, because not everyone might want to own packs like Jungle Adventure or even not Granite Falls, Outdoor Retreat, because maybe you're not really interested in exploring the jungle and exploring kind of like that ancient Mesoamerican inspired culture, and you might not be interested in camping. I think this is a super fun addition, because now you can go and rent a lot anywhere from Windenburg, Strangerville, Delso Valley if you hate yourself enough. So I think that's super fun. And this pack was the first pack ever to come with, by default, both residential and rental lots. And like I said, all of the neighborhoods here come with at least one, except for the one up by the mountainside. And I think that's super cool, because they really were trying to, I think, sell this as you can vacation here as well as live here. So I think that's super fun. This pack also comes with a new lot type, the onsen bathhouse. The onsen bathhouse is inspired once again from Japanese culture, and we got a bunch of cool items for that. And to me, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Spa Day, but kind of pared down a little bit more and being a little bit more specific to Japanese culture. And one thing I really like is that this pack also, much like Get Together did with Windenburg, this actually seems to balance both traditional and modern very well. There's a lot of aspects of this pack that have beautiful, kind of more traditional, ancient Japanese roots and architectural styles, and more that's more modern and upbeat. And I think that's super fun. It's one thing the Sims team, in my opinion, is very good at balancing, is that modern and traditional, because that is something in the real world that we deal with. It is a big part of, like role-playing life. A shelf in the game's catalog actually gives us a little look into kind of the like mythos of Mount Komorabi. The shelf in the game's catalog claims that the villagers believe in a legend that Mount Komorabi is a sleeping dragon that has been encased in snow and ice. I really like this because it adds that kind of lore to the game that the game tends to miss, but it also highlights another issue, that a lot of the lore we have in the game tends to exist in like details in the build catalog and actually isn't like in the world being played. This makes me wish that there was maybe some NPC that you could talk to at the bar or up on the slopes who could tell you a little bit more about this kind of culture of Mount Komorabi and this idea of the sleeping dragon. I really like this idea of the sleeping dragon encased in ice and snow because it seems to take a lot of inspiration from Japanese myths and legends that also tend to include a lot of dragons. For example, in this print by Hokusai titled "The Dragon on Smoke Escaping from Mount Fuji" depicts a dragon escaping from Mount Fuji while flying in with the smoke, is to kind of like conceal itself. This once again ties into a lot of stories about Mount Fuji and dragons, as well as into Japanese culture in general. In another piece known as the Mount Fuji of Mist Volume 2 by Hokusai, a dragon can be seen kind of flying around the clouds around Mount Fuji. According to the curatorial team at the Met Museum in New York, when a dragon is ascending the clouds around Mount Fuji, it's supposed to be considered like a good omen. So I really like this little kind of like hint to Japanese culture and putting into like the culture of Mount Komorabi to kind of help build that world, as well as kind of build in those traditions to make the world seem a little bit more unique. And once again, I do wish it was a little bit more reflected in maybe gameplay, such as like, just things people would talk about. But I do really like that, those little hints and throwaways there. I think it helps really flesh out the world. At the base of the mountain is the town, and the town is great. Like we talked about before, there's sections that are more traditional, some that are a little bit more modern. The most traditional historic part is by this bamboo forest, and you can actually go hiking through there. These trails can lead up to the like the mountain caves, as well as you can go to see a cemetery, and you can even run into like these little forest spirits. This area seems to be inspired by Ayukigahara. Ayukigahara is a forest that's at the base of Mount Fuji. The name means sea of trees, and it is like this beautifully dense forest with all these well-maintained paths that you can walk through. It's a huge tourist area. A lot of people like to visit the trails, go sightseeing, as well as a lot of the locals like to use it. It's a very popular spot. However, like a lot of other popular spots in the world, it does kind of have a dark history or a double meaning depending on who you are. In the West, Ayukigahara is sometimes referred to, in my opinion, very inappropriately as the suicide forest. This does come from in Japan, there annually are a large number of suicides that take place at these forests. However, the Japanese government has taken a lot of steps, especially in the last few years, putting up signs telling people, how precious life is and giving them numbers to suicide hotlines, as well as numbers to, just to help get help. The stories behind Ayukigahara go back for centuries, and there's a very beautiful and rich history here. In folklore, the forest is known to be home to spirits, ghosts, and demons. In the 19th century, there are also legends that when the areas like around Mount Fuji and Ayukigahara were in times of crisis, that that the locals would take their elderly out to the forest and leave them there to die. There is no like actual evidence of this, but it is a story. So you see the history here is quite complex and has such a rich history with both local myths as well as like these older folklore. So, you know, and it doesn't help that in the past few years, and especially with a few years ago with Logan Paul, that Aokigahara has been having issues with kind of being no more is than just the suicide forest. For anyone who's gonna say it, don't call it that in the comments, please. You know, Aokigahara, I kind of view it kind of like the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Many of us look at it as like this really great and cool thing, but for many other people, because so many suicides have happened there, they view it as a place to go end their lives. Issues with mental health and suicide are very complex, so let's try not to be too stigmatizing, and let's try to not, you know, talk about Aokigahara in such negative and dark ways. But you definitely see here there's a lot of inspiration the Sims team is pulling from Aokigahara into these kind of forests that you can walk, especially the bamboo forest, which is pretty thick in the game. And you like in Aokigahara, the idea is that you can see forest spirits there. You can see forest spirits here in the bamboo forest of Mount Komarabi. So I really like that they were able to take inspiration while not being awful. It's so many Westerners tend to look at Aokigahara as just like a suicide forest. Like there's been so many movies that depict it so negatively, so bad. One of them with Natalie Dormer a few years ago. So really glad that the Sims team found a very respectful way to kind of take inspiration. However, though, all the inspirations so far we've been talking about relate to ancient Japan, and that's not the only inspiration that they're pulling from for this pack. But where do we see examples of modern Japan here in Mount Komarabi? I think one of the best examples is actually Yamachan. Yamachan is the village and mountain mascot. He kind of runs around in this super cute suit, and you can see him by any of where his statues are. It's super great. I love Yamachan. Yamachan to me is a great example of modern Japan in ways you might not think. So following Japan's defeat in World War II, Japan shifted their outward appearance from being this kind of like war power to being like this technological power. And then a little bit later, they also shifted their outward appearance even more as they began to kind of take on and appropriate more of their Japanese manga and anime mascots into like their larger global image. I think to some degree we can say like a lot of nations do that. Like I think a lot of people think of like the United States and Disney World. However, I'll say in Japan it's so much more intense, if I can say that. Characters like Hello Kitty and like Pikachu, for example, not only do you see them everywhere in Japan, they're often also seen at major events with like the Prime Minister. There are images of like the Prime Minister like even posing with them. Like characters like Pikachu and Hello Kitty aren't just, you know, these cutesy symbols anymore. They're not just like kawaii kind of like things. They're have been adopted into kind of that like, this is our outward image. This is how we want to be viewed. Japanese artists like Murakami have actually, in his own work, kind of like discussed this. He's very interested in like the way Japanese culture has like really embraced this very cutesy kind of kawaii culture, and kind of what he views as like the negative effects of it. It's a big part, I would say, of like modern Japan and how modern Japan is viewed from the outside as well. You know, you see, you know, Hello Kitty at all these events and festivals. The same with Yamachan. Yamachan is everywhere. So Yamachan is Hello Kitty, and I love it. Another great example of where we can see the modern kind of world come in here is in some of the architectural elements definitely bring more closer to modern Japanese aesthetics than rather more traditional ones. And I think that was super smart and just overall a great decision on the team. It would have been so easy to just go for like the traditional Japanese aesthetic when, you know, so much of Japan also is super modern now. So I love to see it. Some other great elements that I think kind of fit in that you might at first not agree is I actually think a great example of seeing the modern is in the winter sports such as, you know, snowboarding and skiing. For those who don't know, back in 2020, Japan was supposed to host the Olympics. They're supposed to now host them this year. It might get postponed again. We'll see. So I would argue that that was kind of like a nod to, once again, contemporary modern Japan. Another thing we're going to talk about here when looking at the world is the lots. There, like I said, there are 14 lots and they're actually all looking pretty good. Usually in the past few packs, people have stated that the builds don't look great. I don't know if this is the Sims team just doesn't have the resources to like really put in to building anymore. I don't know. I feel like the builds at the beginning of the game were fine, but as more and more packs have come out, we just kind of go, oof, she looking. That building, she looking.
It's like a witch's house in here, David.
So I'm really glad that the builds actually look great. Part of the reason they all look great is because the Sims team brought in prominent Simmers in the community, like Little Simsy, Deligracy, and James Turner, and I believe 2 others, to come in and actually build all the lots. They started this with Eco Lifestyle, where I believe 1 or 2 lots were built by Simmers, and now it's been totally transformed and everything is built by them and it is great. It was super cool to actually see playable homes that don't look awful. So love that. It's making it very hard to actually renovate the world from my own save file. Speaking of that though, let's look into the build and buy mode catalog. I really like all of the new items. I think they're all well made. At first I did think the doors were pretty short, but it turns out that was just me being stupid. When I looked more at like Japanese architecture, I saw that the doors generally don't fill up the whole wall. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. Also, the other Sims doors are so big. I think I just saw like these normal size doors and we're like, they're so tiny. So I really like to see that. I really like how all the new wallpapers look. I wish we gotten a few more, but the ones we got are fine. I wish we gone some more, like actually any kind of flooring. We just got the matte flooring. Would have been nice if we got some nice wood flooring or not, but in the base game we have plenty we can use. I really like the windows. The windows and the doors come in these 2 different variations. One that has kind of like a clear glass and the one that has kind of like this I know it's not glass, but I keep wanting to call it glass, but it has kind of this either, you know, tissue paper or whatever in between the panes or whatnot to have it kind of like a so you can't look through. It makes it really great for using that indoors, as well as if you want to make a house that maybe a little bit more privacy. I think it all looks really nice. As well as the swatches for everything look pretty good. There's this one wood swatch on, you know, the doors, the windows, and on one of the wallpapers that is just so beautiful. And all the wood textures look great with this pack, but there's this one that just really sticks out to me. As well as the swatches for everything look great. There's these beautiful ink paintings that look amazing. Overall, I was just so happy with this build and buy catalog. I do wish we gotten a little bit more, but what we got was pretty great. There is one thing I do kind of have a slight issue with. Part of the sell of this pack was being able to create your own sanctuary. And we got all these items to kind of create like one of those like Buddhist Zen sand gardens. And with it came like a new flooring that you use to create that kind of raked pattern. And I didn't like that because I was really hoping it would be a new skill. And it would be kind of like with how Island Living, we got a new, not floor texture, but, terrain paint, that's what it's called. Sorry, I just had a brain aneurysm or something. We got a brand new terrain paint that was sand that you could use to make sandcastles. And I wish we had gotten a brand new one that you could use to make the Zen, like we could rake out the Zen designs in it. It could be like a skill that you build up or something. But I think this is fine because you can change it pretty easily. So I am pretty happy with that. It looks nice. Like I said, I'm just a little sad that I can't like have my Sims go do it themselves, that I have to be the one. Also, I just think it generally, I just wish maybe we got some, just more in general. And I think that's mostly just because what we got is so nice that I'm like, I want more. Anyways, another thing, like I mentioned before, there's a great mix between traditional and modern, so you can really get a hold of what kind of build you want to do. And I think this pack goes really well with, like, there's a lot in the base game you can mix with it, but I also think a lot of the things we got with Spa Day work well with it. So if you have that pack, you can definitely mix and match these well. I built Yubaba's bathhouse from Spirited Away, and I was able to add a bunch of different things from Spa Day, and I think it just worked out pretty nice. Let's now jump into Create a Sim. I really like how the assets look. We got quite a bit with this pack regarding clothing. Not all of it, in my opinion, is super versatile, but I think they're all well made. I think there's also quite a bit for toddlers and kids, which is nice because EA usually just does not care about what kids are wearing in this game. So it was really nice to get a bunch of new stuff for them. We also got some really nice hairs. I think they all look pretty good. There's ones with like these bang fringes for the female hair, and they look a little stiff and like they stick out weirdly, but it's not too bad that they're unusable. It's just, I definitely think I'll use them more sparingly, but I do like them. I think they're cute. The kimonos and the more other traditional Japanese wear, I think looks super nice. I wish we maybe got a few more swatches on them, just because I feel like there's some like really nice conservative ones and some really brightly colored ones. I wish just something in the middle, but I think they came out super nice. And I really like that we got some more winter wear. And that's because I always view the clothing that we got with seasons to be more of like winter fashion, while the clothing we got with this pack for winter looks more like winter gear. And I know, putting clothing on Sims or whatever, some will say it doesn't actually affect gameplay, but I feel like for my own like immersion, seeing someone go skiing down in like some like cute winter clothes that came from seasons versus like actual winter gear, to me makes a big difference. So I'm pretty happy that we got these options. But yeah, overall, I think everything looks really nice. There's a lot of great items. I think the new skirt we got and that shirt with the choker is super cute. However, I just wish we got some more everyday outfits, because a lot of it was either like super traditional Japanese, which you could wear every day. I'm not going to judge you. And then we got like a lot of winter clothing. Just wish we got a few more elements that were good for everyday wear. But anyways, I think I also just want more because it all looks nice. All right, now we're going to get into gameplay. I think this pack has some really nice gameplay. I don't know how much of it is super long-lasting gameplay, but I do think it's a nice addition. It gives you some other things to mix and match within your current gameplay that you're doing daily, so I do like that. We're going to talk a little bit about the gameplay surrounding the new winter sports. I think the animations for the skiing, snowboarding, and sledding all look pretty nice. I like that with sledding you can also sled with 2 Sims, so that's pretty cool. However, the animations I think are pretty well made. They don't feel lazy like some of the island living animations are. They can get quite repetitive, but I'm not one of those people that actually is bothered by repetitive animations as long as they're well made. I really like that this pack came with separate skills for skiing and snowboarding. I was a little worried they'd fall under fitness. I like that they're their own because it really adds that own gameplay, and it makes it feel more special as you kind of go up in that skill and actually start, getting really good at it in the game. It doesn't just kind of feel like an extension of another thing. I really do enjoy that. I know some people were upset that you couldn't control your sim as they ski or snowboard. For me personally, this isn't an issue. I did not go into this assuming we'd be able to. I think that's just kind of like the nature of the Sims. I think if I wanted to play like a snowboard, simulator or game, I'd have to play a different one. So I'm fine with this. For anyone who doesn't, I'm sorry though. I can understand your disappointment, but I think it's fine. Another thing I thought was interesting is that tubing wasn't here. Once again, I don't know if tubing is just like an American thing, but it's like sledding, but you go faster and it's like a little bit more intense and a little like, I don't know. Like when I think of sledding, I think of kind of like neighborhood kids going down a hill together and having fun. And when I think of tubing, I just think of like pain. Tubing is like sledding in the sense that you go down a hill, but you're in a big like inflatable tube and it just goes very fast. And you wipe out, but also when you wipe out, you don't like fly out of it, which is nice. Or at least I've never flown out of it. But I thought that was interesting that we didn't have tubing. And once again, I'm not sure if that's it's more of an American thing. And if if everyone else in the world would be like, what is happening? That man's in a donut. So to help immerse into this kind of Japanese-inspired culture, this pack also comes with festivals. I know some people are upset that festivals felt like, to them at least, is supposed to be a city living specific game feature, and they feel like they're kind of like stealing from that and reusing it. I'm personally fine with it because the festivals we got with this pack feel so specific to this pack, and the city living ones to me feel so specific to city living that I think it works. I actually wish more packs came with festivals. I actually really like the gameplay they bring. I think they add some kind of flair to the game. In city living, they definitely help kind of make the city feel more alive. And in this pack, they just kind of help flesh out that culture. Like I wish, for example, Get Together came with some festivals that were maybe more inspired around like some like English or Northern European culture. I feel like that pack to me doesn't feel like a Northern European pack. Even though it's like set in that kind of world, you have like a Tudor style and kind of like these almost like Germanic looking mountains. To me, that pack doesn't feel like a Northern European pack though, because there's no culture added. So I really like the festivals, and I really hope more packs going forward actually have festivals, especially if they're like this in the sense that they help build the culture of that world. I think the festivals are fun. They add some gameplay. And like I said, they just add so much more, in my opinion, for experience. The pack comes with 3 specific, 2 of them kind of pulling from Japanese culture, and one to me that feels a little bit more modern and maybe less specific to Japan. So I did like that. The first one we're going to talk about is the Festival of Light. This one is my personal favorite and also is the one that has the most Japanese inspiration that I saw. Here your Sims will watch as paper lanterns float down the river at night. There's a lot of food stalls, and your Sims can buy specific kimonos to commemorate this event from the vending machines. Your Sims can write wishes and tie them to a bamboo tree as well. There's also a bonfire where they set off some fireworks. If you also want to take maybe a more peaceful approach, you can head over to the cemetery and honor the dead over there. This festival seems to be inspired by the Japanese celebration of Toro Nagashi, which I apologize if I just butchered that. But what that translates to is River Lantern Festivals. This festival happens after a period known as Oban has ended. Oban is a period in the summertime usually when it is believed that the spirits of the deceased can visit. At the end of Oban is when these Toro Nagashi start, and that's when you take the spirits and you help guide them back to the afterlife by sending them down the river and use the light from the lantern to guide them. I found some versions online were talking about this has to do with in some parts of Japan, it's believed spirits live in the ocean. I don't know if that's true for all of Japan. I couldn't find a definitive yes or no. That could once again be a regional thing. It also could just be something someone said and is not true. Either way, though, you send them down the river and it helps guide them home. If anyone here has seen Kubo and the Two Strings, they actually talk about that in that movie. They have that festival where they send them down the river, and in that movie, of course, since it's animated, it can get away with some creative liberties. They turn into cranes and fly away to kind of represent the spirits going back to the afterlife. So I think they did a really great job at taking elements from that festival and bringing it into The Sims and kind of keeping its kind of key features, but of course making it feel kind of as if it would belong to this culture of Mount Kamarabi. So I really like that, and I think just what they based it off is also just super beautiful. The next one we're going to talk about is the Festival of Snow. This to me feels very modern and not super Japanese specific. And what this is this festival is actually pretty simple. Your Sims show up, they can buy some festive winter gear, and they can enjoy the snow. They can go shredding down the slopes, enjoy some snow activities. I think some of the snow activities you might need seasons to enjoy, though. I could be wrong, though. And you can also go and look at the big ice sculptures. This might not sound super fun, but this actually reminds me of a lot of the winter festivals that happen here in New England. So like I live here in Massachusetts. I grew up in New Hampshire, though. And every year people would travel all around just to go see these big things in New Hampshire known as like the ice castles, which were just like these big frozen blocks of ice, essentially. And people are like,
wow, this is great.
And like, that's it. You're just looking at ice. And that's like a lot of winter festivals in New England is you just go look at the snow and you're like, ain't that cool? So I really liked this kind of addition because once again, it feels very modern and kind of more like worldly. And it kind of, I think, once again, ties into that idea of the Olympics, that idea of modern Japan and like the influences from the outside world. And it also really just kind of ties in that winter, like year-round winter experience that you get up on Mount Kamarabi. The last festival to me is one that I think is super welcome to The Sims 4, and that is the Festival of Youth. Here, your child Sims, the youngins, can go and check out a whole new festival that's just dedicated to them. There are arts and crafts tables for kids because we have so many in the game. We have chemistry sets, and they can also hang out with Yama-chan, as well as there's the new Void Critter Hunt, which is inspired by Pokemon Go. Sadly, I believe that game of Void Critter Hunt is only available at this festival, but I do think it's a super fun thing. I think it's really nice to have something for kids to be able to look forward to, as well as it happens, I believe, all of these festivals happen like on a every other weekly basis, which is nice. They're not like the City Living ones, which happen like every day. Also at the kids event, one thing I thought was super cool is at the vending machines, your Sims can buy what are known as kabuto, which are origami versions of samurai armor, kind of making an allusion to samurais of Japan's past. For those who don't know, samurai don't exist anymore. Once being able to carry swords was outlawed, they pretty much were out. That's what they do. So I really liked that kind of nod to that because there's really no way to add samurai, in my opinion, that really would have worked in The Sims. So I liked that little nod. And I liked, once again, that Yama-chan was there because it kind of relates to the idea of how, Hello Kitty is at every event in Japan. So I thought that was great. The next thing we're going to be discussing is hiking. I believe we got hiking originally with Outdoor Retreat, but I don't know. Outdoor Retreat, I think, is a great pack, but it's about camping, one of the most boring things. And I see that as someone who used to go camping multiple times a year by choice. I really like this edition of hiking, though, we got because it actually is quite more interesting. It's not the most in-depth gameplay of all time, and kind of at times feels like it's just a place to take nice screenshots of your Sims, or watch them get attacked by bugs, or see a spirit. But I do think it can be really nice for certain Sims living certain lifestyles. There's a bunch of different options, like you can take a hike up to the mountain shrines, take a hike through the bamboo forest, or do an exercise jog, and a few more other options. You can go by yourself, or you can go with someone else. If you have your pets with you at the time, they'll also join you. I don't believe toddlers can go, but that's okay. Leave them at home. Who wants to? I would never want to take a toddler in the woods. I am not Sacagawea. The kid is staying home. While going through the forest, you might meet these cute little forest spirits, which I think are a super cute, addition to the game. Once again, going back to different Japanese myths. So I really like that, and I like that depending on your Sim's personalities can define how their interaction with them go. My Sim met a forest spirit, and because she had good traits, she was blessed by the spirit. I'm assuming if I had a really negative Sim, he probably wouldn't have been blessed. So she got this really great moodlet, and then she went on to meet some more spirits and were able to give her some more positive moodlet. So I really like that, especially, if you have a Sim who loves the outdoors and is trying to go for a really good lifestyle. This can be a super fun activity for them. Like I said, I know some people say it's bad that some areas of The Sims 4 do feel like just for screenshots, but I personally sometimes think it's cute. So I like seeing my Sims go through like these cutesy walks and taking the screenshots and go, isn't that cute? So I don't know, I like it. I don't think it's the most interesting thing in the game, but I think it's fun. Vaguely related, we'll also tie in mountain climbing. You can climb up to the mountain summit itself. However, you should practice first. To get up the climbing walls, you'll need to build up your skill. I'm going to say I don't know how to build up your skill, though. I tried to do it, but I kept being told my Sim's level was too low, and I even had found the mountain climbing walls that weren't on the mountain itself. And I don't know if there's just more that I couldn't find somewhere in this world, or if you have to maybe have a high enough fitness skill or something before you can even try. I don't know. All I know is that I had to cheat it so my Sim could climb up the damn mountain. And I don't know if this also has to do with I have the fitness pack, which has that stupid climbing wall. So maybe because I have that installed, the game wants me to use that to build up the skill. I don't know. I hate that climbing wall. It's big. It's stupid. I think the animation looks stupid. I actually think the animation for climbing up the actual mountain walls looks a lot better. I know they're very similar, but there's something about the exercise machine one that just looks stupid to me. I hate that machine. I don't want to talk about that pack. So yeah, I actually like the mountain climbing thing though. You get if you're able to complete to the top without any major issues, whoever you go with, you'll get a positive sentiment with, which we'll talk a little bit later, as well as if you fail all the way up there, your Sim will get a negative sentiment. So, it's definitely not the hardest thing in the game, but you need to have a high enough skill though to get through it properly, as well as if your Sims, if they have bad weather and low skill, there is a chance they'll die. So there is definitely risk to it, and I generally quite like it. This pack advertised giving you the ability to chase thrills, which seems to kind of fall under winter sports and mountain climbing, as well as find your zen, which seems to relate to, the new hiking, as well as be able to create the sand gardens, as well as the onsen bathhouse. But there's also the advertisement that you should be able to define your lifestyle. This interested me. With this pack came a new feature known as lifestyles. Lifestyles are built through habitual actions over an extended period of time, where your Sim, will do certain things, and it leads to a lifestyle. From the Wikipedia page, it says, this pack feature comes a new game mechanic called lifestyles. These work similarly to traits. However, They are acquired through normal gameplay by exhibiting certain behaviors. Lifestyle traits give Sims various emotions or gameplay elements that provides more in-depth personalities for Sims. Lifestyles will have to be maintained, otherwise they'll be lost or replaced by another lifestyle trait. This pack includes 16 lifestyle traits. Essentially how this works is if you want your Sim to be able to have a certain lifestyle that will add to gameplay, you'll have to have your Sim do repeated habitual actions again and again, and there's only so many you can do per day that actually lead to your to establishing this lifestyle. And these things you do over and over again will lead to your Sim creating this lifestyle. These lifestyles can anything be from being like an outdoorsy Sim or being a workaholic. If you have a workaholic Sim, they'll be very, work oriented. They'll do autonomously, like they'll do skills and things that help build up their work while they're at home. They might stay at work later, they might go in early. All of these things can help define your Sim's personality through gameplay. What I like mostly about these two is they're not like permanent, kind of like how traits are supposed to be permanent. In that is in the sense that, like, let's say you have a Sim who is a workaholic. She's a nonsense business lady, and in comes another Sim, and they fall in love and have like a typical Hallmark movie romance in the sense that the love interest shows this workaholic girl the true meaning of Winterfest, and they fall in love and get married by Father Christmas or whatever. I don't know. If she has that lifestyle, that workaholic one, you can actually do activities and things to help undermine and hopefully eventually undo that lifestyle. So that's another thing. So if your Sim's unhappy with their lifestyle, there's things they can do to change it, which once again adds to gameplay. I think overall this is what to me really bumps this expansion pack up to expansion pack level. Everything we've mentioned before I think is pretty cool and I think adds a lot to the game, but this is what to me actually will make this pack actually worth really having. Like, if you're not sold on winter sports or Japanese inspired culture, this is the thing that I think you'll probably want. Vaguely related was a base game update that we got right before that brought to the game sentiments. I wanted to do a whole video on sentiments, but the one I filmed, I was really drunk when I filmed it, and I went to try to edit it, and I was like, yeah, this is not worth saving. But essentially, like lifestyle sentiments, you have to work for, and they help kind of create your Sims' personalities as well as help define their relationships with the Sims around them more. This is a free base game update, and I think it's great. And what it does is, if your Sim has a super emotional enough interaction with a Sim, or something happens, that will cause your Sim to have a sentiment with them. These sentiments can be anything from like deeply in love to, having a grudge with your neighbor. Sentiments can also be one-sided, which I think that's super great because that can add for some fun gameplay. And what essentially is the most important about this is it kind of helps create like a memory system for your Sims. Your Sims will autonomously do actions related to how they feel about another Sim. So let's say Nancy Landgrab and Bob Pancakes have a grudge with each other. They're autonomously going to have mean and negative interactions between themselves that I won't have to tell them to do. Like, they might throw drinks at each other, as well as they'll get negative moodlets from just being in the same room. I like this because this is kind of like how real life works. And another thing I like is that it can be one-sided. So like Nancy can feel very hurt by something Bob did, and Bob might not like feel anything. He might be like, it's Nancy, I don't care. And she might be like, Bob is the worst human ever. So I really like that. There's so much more we also haven't discussed. We got a new hot pot dish, and what that does is you put it on the table and it works like how hot pot does if you've ever had hot pot. What I like too is you can put this in restaurants, and your Sim's gonna have like a hot pot restaurant. It will work slightly different than like how the restaurant system usually works. For example, like they can't order hot pot from the waiter. They have to just like do it on the table, so that money won't go to the restaurant, but that's fine, I don't care. As well as the new tables that we got from the packs, the ones that you can sit on the floor with. Those don't seem to work at restaurants in the sense that the Sims don't recognize them as tables. So you have to put your hotpot dish on like a normal table. So that's fine, I guess. But I do really like that new item. We got 2 new deaths, 2 new traits, and 2 new aspirations. The 2 deaths, like many other deaths in The Sims 4, are kind of hard to achieve. But what I like about these ones is there's kind of like this. They're both related to like how much damage your sim has taken, because it's death by vending machine and death by falling. So if your sim falls enough times while climbing, it will kill them. Like I said, there seems to be kind of like a chance machine in the background that every time your sim falls, it like throws a pair of dice to decide how much damage they got. So your sim could fall 10 times and be fine, or they could fall 4 times and die. It all kind of depends on like the chance, it seems like. Same with vending machines. Your sim could get crushed like 1,000,000 times and be fine, or your sim gets crushed like 3 times and, well, they're a goner. So I do quite like that, and I like, once again, how kind of pack related they are. Of the new traits we have proper and adventurous. I think they're both fine. Proper Sims won't do certain interactions, they don't approve of mean or mischievous actions, and they enjoy being in proper clothing. I think this is fun. It can add some interesting gameplay. It's like, what I like about that like trait, it's not necessarily like a negative or a positive trait. It's just kind of like an actual real life trait in some ways, so it feels like it actually will add different gameplay. As well as the other one, adventurous. I think it's a good trait. I think it helps motivate you to actually like engage with different elements from different packs, because the sim will just want to have new and different experiences. So, you know, it can be anything from like wanting to play foosball to swimming to the first time. Like, it doesn't matter what it is as long as it's new. So I think it's a really good one to help, not only just with this pack, but it also helps, I think, with just interacting with The Sims 4 in general. Of the 2 new aspirations, I think Extreme Sport Enthusiast is the better of the 2. Even though it is a tutorial, it doesn't necessarily feel like one. It actually feels like it's about living that extreme sport lifestyle, and I really like it. The other one, it's like a sightseer one, and it just kind of reminds me of like the island living, like beach life one. So I think it's fine if you're gonna like have them go on vacation. Your goal is to do that aspiration while they're like on vacation for a week or something, but it's not one that I would like give too many Sims, but I think it's fine. Before I give my final thoughts and review, as always, I do want to talk about cross-pack compatibility. Essentially talk about how well does this pack interact with other packs from The Sims 4, as well as how does it fit into The Sims 4 as a general. Does it kind of, you know, mesh in well? Does it stand out weird? And what packs can you use with this pack? I think that's really important because, you know, we get these packs with such specific items, but I personally like to mix and match them as much as possible. Like I mentioned before, I think the lifestyle system is what will affect your gameplay overall. It's, to me, very similar to like the club system or the ego footprint, the thing that like you will see affect your gameplay no matter where you are. So I'm pretty happy about that. However, I do think if they wanted to like remain like a big impact on the game, they might need to add more as like the game goes on. But right now, the 16 we have, I think, are pretty good. One thing I really liked is that the new activities of hiking, sledding, and skiing and snowboarding are all included in activities that you can do with the club system we got with Get Together. So you can create a skiing club if you want, a snowboarding group. You know, you can pretty much create a winter activities group if you want now. I really like this because, I mean, I think all packs should always go with Get Together, but seeing it actually there, super nice. I like it. And it also, I feel like, makes this pack so much more useful because you could be living in Del Sol Valley and be like, all right, we're having our ski club meet at Mount Komorebi, which I know isn't super realistic, but I don't care. As mentioned before, you can take animals on hikes, so there's definitely that kind of compatibility with pets. Of course, you can bring pets to this world too. You can live there with pets. So pets, of course, that's an easy one to mix and match, which it doesn't go well with Journey to Batu though, but we're not going to talk about that. I did notice occults don't seem to have any new interactions or perks. I noticed mermaids don't turn into mermaids in the hot spring. I don't know if that's because maybe there's not enough room to do the animation, or maybe they just didn't think of it, but I thought that was weird. I also noticed that mermaids can't affect the mountain weather, so mermaids are just kind of like Sims here. Okay, well, that's fine. Let's move on to spellcasters. Spellcasters with, for example, Eco Lifestyle did get a new spell that they all know by default, and that's like they can just make flies go away. That way you will potentially have a less likely chance of dying from fly attack. However, I did notice that there doesn't seem to be any new spells, so that's fine, I guess. I don't know where they would have added it, but I feel like they could have come up with a creative idea. There doesn't seem to be any new interactions for aliens, but I'm not surprised. They're like the forgotten occult sim of The Sims 4, as well as there doesn't seem to be any new interactions for vampires, which I don't know, I thought that was kind of weird. They're another hard one, I think, to fit one too, but anything would have been nice. The eco footprint does work here, which I like, because it doesn't work in Everworld. It doesn't work in the Vacation Worlds or Strangerville. But seeing the eco footprint work here is nice, so you can make Mount Komorebi a, eco oasis mountain town, or you can make it an industrial dump if you want. You can also open shops here, so I guess get to work works, but I mean, that's kind of a given. Once again, that there's very minimal packs that one doesn't work with. And even though there's snow here by default, I think Seasons is a great addition to have if you have this pack. It just really fleshes out that gameplay more, and I would really love to see Mount Komorebi through the seasons. I did mention earlier that I think this pack visually works well with Spa Day. I noticed though, gameplay-wise, depending what you're doing, might not work. You can definitely build a spa here. There's nothing stopping you. I built, like I said, the bathhouse from Spirited Away, and I wanted it to be a bathhouse. I wanted people to come here and interact with the baths. However, I did put down like the massage tables, the steam rooms, and I did put down the instructor yoga mat. So, you could do yoga here. None of these really work as if you're in a spa. Like, there won't be masseuse there by default. You can hire one to come though, and so that may or may not be an issue for you. The steam rooms work, but yeah, the instructor for the yoga class won't come though, so that's a little upsetting. But also, you probably don't go to a bathhouse to do yoga, but I thought it would be nice just to have like a little extra thing to do while you're here. So overall, I think, these are just, I didn't go over every pack to see what does and doesn't work. Let's I mentioned you can use Dine Out here. Pretty much a lot of packs generally have good cross-pack compatibility, but seeing from one of the ones we have that are very specific, there doesn't seem to be any major specific ones, but I think it has pretty good cross-pack compatibility. There are packs that have had more, but I think this is fine. So overall, I do like this pack a lot. I think there's a lot of new and fun things here, and I think overall it's a pretty quality expansion pack, especially after packs though like Eco Lifestyle that came with lots of gameplay. This one does feel maybe a little lacking in something. It feels like something's missing. I don't know what it is, but overall I do quite like it a lot. If you're interested in adding Japanese culture or winter sports, this would be a great pack to get. However, if neither of those things really interest you, I would say you can probably skip this one. If you're not interested, for example, like in the winter sports, but really want that Japanese culture, I'd say definitely wait for this, to go on sale. I think the Japanese inspired culture that they added is super nice, and they're super rich, kind of like storytelling elements there that, yeah, you could definitely get this on sale and you'll be pretty happy. I did not get it on sale, and I don't feel upset about that. But I've always said anyways, I feel like $40 is a lot for an expansion pack. You may or may disagree. I just think that's a lot for DLC. And I know Sims 4 DLC is different than DLC for any other game. Like usually when you buy DLC for games, it's like you're buying a new skin or a new gun. Like here you're buying a whole new world. So, but I always just feel like $40 is a bit much. So as always, I recommend if you don't want to spend $40, definitely wait. If you, would like this now and can't wait, I definitely don't think you'll be upset. I'm not upset that I spent $40, but I'm also kind of yeah, that was $40. Anyways, I really like this pack. Like I said, if you're interested in this gameplay, I recommend it. However, if I wouldn't say it's something you need. For me personally, I'm not going to add it to my list of packs I need in future Sims titles, but I'll say it's a good one. I really like it. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one. That's the video, everyone.